The Great Hall of the Galactic Concordat stretched impossibly high, its bioorganic walls pulsing with streams of living data. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the center of the vast chamber, her ceremonial uniform stark against the swirling patterns of light that danced across the floor. Before her, arranged in a perfect semicircle, sat the representatives of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations, beings whose very existence challenged human understanding of life itself. The Meridian Collective, crystalline entities that had mastered dimensional engineering millennia ago, sparkled with barely contained disdain. The Vex hierarchy, a species that had transcended biological evolution through perfect integration with quantum computing, maintained an air of calculated indifference. And the ethereal conclave, beings of pure energy who had long ago abandoned physical form, flickered with what Sarah interpreted as amusement. "Your species," began High Arbiter Zixtal of the Meridian Collective, his crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns that the translation matrix converted to speech, "has achieved spaceflight merely 3 centuries ago. Your understanding of quantum mechanics is rudimentary. Your biological form remains unevolved. Yet you petition for full membership in the Concordat." Sarah felt the weight of 10,000 years of advancement bearing down upon her. But beneath that pressure, she felt something else, the fire that had driven humanity from cave paintings to the stars. "We recognize our youth," she responded, her voice steady. "But we also know our potential." A ripple of what could only be described as cosmic laughter echoed through the chamber. The Vex representative, a being composed of interlocking geometric shapes that somehow managed to convey condescension, projected a series of holographic displays. "Observe," it stated, its voice a symphony of mathematical precision. "Your most advanced quantum computer requires entire facilities. Our smallest drone possesses more computational power than your entire planet's combined systems." Sarah had expected this. The Concordat's dismissal of humanity wasn't just about their technological limitations. It was about their fundamental approach to existence. These ancient species have followed what they considered the only logical path of evolution: the systematic replacement of biological uncertainty with technological perfection. In the observation gallery above, Dr. Maya Patel watched the proceedings with intense focus. As Earth's leading xenotechnologist, she had spent years studying the advanced species' technology. But where they saw human technology as primitive, she saw something they couldn't comprehend: flexibility. The ethereal representative shimmered, its energy form condensing slightly as it addressed the chamber. "Perhaps we should consider a probationary period of several centuries. Allow them time to advance." The condescension in its tone was palpable. But before Sarah could respond, the chamber's atmospheric processors registered an anomaly. The bioorganic walls, usually a smooth dance of data streams, began to display erratic patterns. The Vex representative's geometric form flickered, something that should have been impossible given their quantum stability. "We are detecting an unknown quantum signature," announced the Meridian Collective's security protocols. "Source: unidentified. Nature: unprecedented." The holographic displays throughout the chamber began to distort, showing readings that defied the Concordat's understanding of physics. The advanced species, for all their technological superiority, seemed momentarily frozen in confusion. It was Dr. Patel who reacted first. Her neural interface, a primitive human design, was already analyzing the anomaly. "Ambassador," she called out, her fingers dancing across her holographic interface, "this isn't just a quantum disturbance. It's a tear in the fabric of reality itself." The Vex representative's form stabilized enough to project disdain. "Impossible. Our understanding of quantum mechanics is absolute. This must be a natural phenomenon we haven't yet categorized." But Sarah saw something in Dr. Patel's expression that she recognized, that uniquely human spark of intuition mixed with analytical thinking. "Dr. Patel," she said, "explain what you're seeing." "The distortion isn't random," Maya responded, her voice growing more excited as she pieced together the puzzle. "It's structured, but not in any way our advanced friends here would recognize. It's organic, evolving, learning. It's alive. The chamber erupted in a chaos of electronic communication as the various species tried to process this impossibility. Their perfect systems, their advanced quantum computers, their energy-based consciousness. None of them could comprehend what the primitive human scientist had instantly recognized. "We're detecting similar anomalies across 3 sectors," announced the Meridian security protocols. 2 Vex outposts have gone dark. A Meridian colony has lost all quantum connectivity. Sarah stepped forward, her voice cutting through the growing panic. "Distinguished members of the Concordat," she said, "you've spent millennia perfecting your existing systems. But in doing so, you may have lost something we humans still possess: the ability to think beyond established patterns, to see connections where none should exist, to adapt to the impossible." The chamber fell silent as the implications of her words sank in. The quantum anomaly was spreading, consuming advanced systems that had stood unchanged for thousands of years. And here stood humanity, their primitive technology surprisingly unaffected, their unevolved minds already racing toward solutions that the advanced species couldn't even conceive. Dr. Patel's voice cut through the silence. "Ambassador, I think I know what we're dealing with. But you're not going to like it." She paused, her next words carrying the weight of a revelation that would shake the foundations of the galaxy. "This isn't just a quantum anomaly. It's a predator. And it's hunting." The ethereal conclave's energy form pulsed with what might have been fear. The Vex's geometric patterns displayed mathematical equations that, for the first time in their history, failed to provide answers. And the Meridian Collective's crystalline forms refracted light in patterns that suggested deep disturbance. Sarah looked at each of the advanced species in turn, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Perhaps," she said, "it's time we showed you why being primitive isn't always a disadvantage. Sometimes, the oldest solutions are the best ones, especially when facing something new." As if to punctuate her words, another wave of quantum distortions rippled through the chamber. But this time, it was the human systems that remained stable, their rudimentary technology somehow resilient against whatever was tearing apart the advanced quantum networks of the Concordat. The High Arbiter's crystalline form shifted, creating patterns that the translation matrix took a moment to process. "Explain," it demanded, all condescension gone from its tone. "Gladly," Sarah replied, nodding to Dr. Patel. "But first, you'll need to accept that everything you think you know about technological evolution might be wrong. Sometimes, the ability to think like a cave dweller is exactly what you need, especially when the lights go out." The quantum anomaly pulsed again, stronger this time, and in the darkness that followed, humanity's moment had finally arrived. They just didn't know yet if that was a good thing, or the beginning of something far more terrifying than even the Concordat could imagine. Aboard the research vessel Archimedes, Dr. Maya Patel stared at the holographic display that filled the ship's main laboratory. The quantum anomaly that had disrupted the Galactic Concordat's meeting pulsed before her, rendered in colors that human eyes were never meant to see. 3 weeks had passed since that first encounter, and in that time, 17 advanced civilizations had lost contact with their outlying colonies. "Show me the pattern analysis again," she commanded. The ship's AI, a primitive system by Concordat standards, compiled the data. Unlike the quantum-integrated systems of more advanced species, the Archimedes computer core ran on principles that were deceptively simple and remarkably resilient. "Analysis complete," the AI announced, detecting a 97% correlation between target selection and technological advancement level. The more sophisticated the quantum infrastructure, the more attractive the target appears to be. Commander James Rodriguez entered the lab, his weathered face reflecting the strange lights from the holographic display. "The Vex just lost another hub world," he reported grimly. 2 million quantum-integrated citizens, gone in an instant. The Meridian Collective is talking about complete system shutdown, retreating to purely crystalline form. Maya nodded absently, her mind racing through possibilities that the advanced species couldn't consider. "Look at this," she said, gesturing to a particular data stream. "Every civilization that's been hit relied entirely on quantum computing. Their whole society, their very consciousness, exists as quantum information, making them perfect prey." Rodriguez finished her thought. "But that doesn't explain why we're unaffected, doesn't it?" Maya turned to face him, her eyes bright with realization. "We're not unaffected, Commander. We're unappealing. Our technology, our minds, we're too analog, too messy, too biological." The laboratory's doors hissed open again, admitting Ambassador Chen. After the disaster at the Concordat meeting, she had been appointed Earth's emergency liaison to the surviving advanced species. "The Ethereal Conclave is requesting assistance," she announced, her voice tight with controlled urgency. "They're detecting quantum signatures matching the anomaly throughout their home system." Maya's hands flew across the holographic interface, pulling up new data streams. "They're energy beings," she muttered. "Pure consciousness converted to quantum-stable wavelengths. They should have been the safest. Or the most vulnerable," Rodriguez suggested. "What if this thing isn't just consuming technology? What if it's hunting consciousness itself?" The implications hung heavy in the air. The Ethereal Conclave represented one of the galaxy's oldest civilizations, beings who had transcended physical form to become living thought. And now that achievement might prove to be their undoing. "Ambassador," Maya said slowly, "I need you to get me a meeting with the Conclave's highest members. Not their representatives, their actual governing consciousness." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "They haven't communicated directly with biological beings in 10,000 years. They consider it beneath them. Then they can add it to the list of things they were wrong about," Maya replied, already gathering her equipment. "Because I think I know what we're dealing with, and they're not going to like it." The journey to the Ethereal Conclave's home system took 3 days by conventional drive. Their quantum gates had been shut down as a precaution. The Archimedes arrived to find a site that defied description. Vast fields of living energy, the combined consciousness of trillions of evolved beings, rippling with patterns of thought and memory. And at the edges of that magnificent display, darkness was spreading. "By all known laws of physics, this should be impossible," declared the Conclave's primary consciousness, its thoughts translated into words by Maya's interface. "These quantum patterns have maintained stability for millennia." Maya stood before the vast energy field, her primitive sensors recording data that the Conclave's advanced systems couldn't even detect. "That's exactly the problem," she said. "You've achieved perfect stability, perfect predictability, perfect stagnation." A ripple of disturbance passed through the energy field. "Explain," demanded the consciousness. "Life isn't stable," Maya continued, her voice gaining strength as pieces of the puzzle fell into place. "Life evolves, adapts, changes. But you, all of you advanced species, you've removed chaos from your existence. You've eliminated randomness, uncertainty, evolution itself." Commander Rodriguez stepped forward, his military mind grasping the tactical implications. "You've made yourselves perfect targets," he said, "because whatever this thing is, it feeds on patterns, and you've made your entire civilization one giant, predictable pattern." The darkness at the edge of the energy field pulsed, as if responding to his words. Maya's sensors recorded a surge of activity that sent chills down her spine. "It's not just consuming you," she whispered. "It's learning you. Every civilization it devours makes it stronger, more efficient at hunting the next one." "Impossible," the Conclave declared, but there was uncertainty in its response. "Our understanding of quantum mechanics is absolute." "No," Maya corrected. "Your understanding of quantum mechanics is perfect. And that's why you can't see what's really happening. This isn't about quantum mechanics. It's about evolution. Something has evolved to hunt consciousness itself, and it's starting with the easiest prey, minds that have forgotten how to change. The darkness pulsed again, closer now. Maya's instruments recorded patterns within it that seemed to mock the very laws of physics. But beneath those patterns, in the chaos of its movement, she saw something that the advanced species couldn't comprehend. "Ambassador," she said urgently, "I need you to convey a message to Earth. Tell them to begin Protocol Omega. And tell them," she paused, watching as the darkness consumed another section of the ethereal consciousness, "tell them we're going to have to think like cavemen to outsmart a quantum god." The conclave's consciousness flickered with what might have been fear, or perhaps, for the first time in millennia, hope. Because in that moment, as an impossible predator consumed the galaxy's most advanced minds, humanity's greatest weakness had become their greatest strength. They remembered how to evolve. The research complex beneath Mount Cheyenne hummed with activity. In chambers that had once housed humanity's nuclear deterrent, scientists now worked on something far more ambitious. Dr. Maya Patel stood at a central console, surrounded by holographic displays showing the quantum entity's advancing pattern of destruction across the galaxy. "Protocol Omega is ready for testing," announced Dr. Victor Santos, his dark eyes reflecting the shimmer of quantum calculations. "Though I still think this is insane." Maya smiled grimly. "Insanity might be exactly what we need right now." She gestured to a particularly complex display showing the remains of a Vex colony world. "Look at how it hunts. Perfect efficiency, perfect prediction, perfect consumption of quantum-based consciousness. But what happens when you introduce chaos into a perfect system?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Alox, a young Meridian researcher who had chosen to remain in physical form rather than retreat with their species, sparkled with insight. "You corrupt the pattern. Force evolution where none should exist." "Exactly," Maya confirmed. "The entity feeds on predictability, so we give it something it can't predict. Consciousness that refuses to follow logical patterns." Commander Rodriguez entered the chamber, accompanied by Ambassador Chen and a delegation of surviving alien scientists. The aliens moved hesitantly, clearly uncomfortable with the crude surroundings. Their own research facilities were marvels of quantum engineering. This place, with its solid walls and primitive electromagnetic shielding, felt like a step backward in time. "The ethereal conclave has fallen," Sarah announced without preamble. The entity consumed their entire collective consciousness in less than 6 hours. The survivors, those who managed to download into emergency biological forms, are requesting sanctuary. Maya nodded, unsurprised. How many made the transition? Less than 1%. Most couldn't cope with the inefficiency of biological existence. But those who survived are already showing signs of adaptation. They're learning to think differently. "Good," Maya said, "because what we're about to attempt will require thinking that defies every rule of advanced civilization." She turned to the assembled alien scientists. "Your species spent millennia perfecting quantum computation, achieving consciousness that operates with mathematical precision. We're going to do the opposite." She gestured to a massive device in the center of the chamber. At first glance, it appeared crude, a tangle of optical cables, quantum processors, and biological neural networks. But looking closer, one could see something revolutionary. A system that deliberately introduced chaos into its own operations. "We call it the entropy engine," Maya explained. "It's a hybrid system that combines quantum computing with organic neural networks, not to achieve perfection, but to embrace imperfection. Every calculation includes random variables. Every process introduces elements of uncertainty." Alox's crystalline form vibrated with what might have been horror. "But that defies every principle of advanced computation. The inefficiency alone is exactly what we need," Maya interrupted. "The entity hunts perfect patterns. We're going to give it consciousness that evolves faster than it can adapt to consume it." Commander Rodriguez stepped forward, his military training helping him grasp the tactical implications. "We're not just building a weapon," he realized. "We're creating a new form of defense. one based on controlled chaos. More than that, Maya said, we're redefining what it means to evolve. She turned to the alien scientists. Your species achieved incredible things by eliminating uncertainty. But in doing so, you became predictable. We humans never managed to eliminate our chaos, and now that's going to save us all. The entropy engine pulsed with a strange light as test sequences began. On the holographic displays, quantum patterns twisted and reformed in ways that defied prediction. It was beautiful in its disorder, a symphony of controlled chaos that made the alien scientists flinch. The first test subjects are ready, Dr. Santos announced. A series of quantum processors, salvaged from abandoned VEX technology, waited to be connected to the system. Once we begin, there's no going back. The chaos will be permanent. Maya looked at Ambassador Chen, who nodded grimly. Humanity had been dismissed as primitive, their technology deemed crude and inefficient. But now that very primitiveness might be the key to survival. Begin the sequence, Maya commanded. The entropy engine hummed to life, its hybrid systems introducing controlled chaos into the quantum processors. On the displays, consciousness patterns began to form. But unlike anything the galaxy had seen before, these patterns shifted and evolved in real time, defying prediction, refusing to settle into stable forms. Alax's crystalline form pulsed with sudden understanding. It's beautiful, they whispered. Imperfect, unstable, eternal evolution. We spent millennia trying to eliminate chaos, never realizing. That chaos is what makes life resilient, Maya finished. The entity evolved to hunt perfect patterns. We're going to show it what happens when those patterns refuse to stay perfect. In the depths of space, the quantum entity continued its relentless advance. But for the first time since it began its hunt, it encountered something new. Consciousness that evolved faster than it could consume, patterns that refused to be predicted, life that embraced chaos as a weapon. The war for survival was about to enter a new phase, and humanity's greatest weakness was about to become the galaxy's greatest hope. Because sometimes the best way to fight perfection is with deliberate imperfection. And no species had mastered the art of imperfection quite like humanity. The bridge of the ESS Prometheus crackled with nervous energy as Captain Elena Santos watched the quantum entity devour another star system. Through the ship's advanced sensors, the consumption looked almost beautiful, perfect geometric patterns expanding with mathematical precision, transforming everything they touched into pure, predictable information. Entropy engine at full capacity, reported Dr. Maya Patel from her station. The device they created hummed through the ship's superstructure, its controlled chaos sending shivers through the quantum-reinforced hull. Ready to initiate first contact. Elena nodded grimly. After months of preparation, endless simulations, and countless adjustments to the entropy engine, they were about to deliberately attract the attention of something that had consumed civilizations far more advanced than humanity. Status of the backup systems. All analog systems running parallel to quantum networks, Commander Rodriguez confirmed. If the entity breaches our primary defenses, we can fall back to pure electromagnetic technology, just like our ancestors. Alox, their Meridian advisor, sparkled with nervous energy. The entity has never faced resistance before. We cannot predict how it will react to a direct challenge. That's exactly the point, Maya said, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. We're about to introduce something it can't predict. Ambassador Chen, are the evacuation corridors secured? Sarah Chen's voice came through the comm system, clear despite the quantum interference saturating the region. All surviving civilizations have been relocated to designated safe zones. We're as ready as we'll ever be. Elena took a deep breath, feeling the weight of not just humanity, but all surviving intelligent life resting on their next actions. Initialize the entropy engine. Let's get its attention. The ship's hybrid systems thrummed to life. Unlike the pure quantum technology of advanced civilizations, the Prometheus represented something entirely new, a deliberate marriage of order and chaos. Quantum processors worked alongside neural networks, each calculation introducing controlled variables of uncertainty. On the main viewer, the entity's consumption patterns suddenly hesitated. For the first time since it began its rampage across the galaxy, it encountered something that didn't fit its perfect mathematical models. "It's noticed us," Maya announced, her voice tight with concentration. "Quantum scanning patterns detected. It's trying to analyze our systems." "Give it something to think about," Elena commanded. Maya initiated the first phase of their attack. The entropy engine pulsed, sending waves of conscious chaos into the quantum realm. Patterns formed and dissolved, evolved and mutated, each one defying prediction or categorization. The entity's response was immediate and violent. A tendril of pure quantum energy lashed out at the ship, attempting to consume its consciousness as it had done to countless advanced systems before. "Breach attempt detected," Rodriguez reported calmly. "But it can't establish a stable connection. Our patterns keep shifting faster than it can adapt." Elox's crystalline form vibrated with excitement. "Remarkable. It's actually showing signs of confusion. The perfect predator, encountering prey it cannot predict." But the entity wasn't finished. Its attack patterns shifted, becoming more complex, more aggressive. The ship shuddered as quantum energy bombarded its shields. "It's learning," Maya warned, "adapting its approach. But so are we." She interfaced directly with the entropy engine, her consciousness joining the chaotic dance of human and quantum technology, introducing new variables now. Through the neural interface, Maya could feel the entity's frustration. It was like a mathematician encountering an equation that refused to be solved, a hunter facing prey that constantly changed its nature. "Multiple breach attempts detected," Rodriguez announced. "It's trying to find a pattern in our defenses. Permission to activate Protocol Theta." Elena nodded. "Do it." Throughout the ship, systems began shutting down in seemingly random sequences, only to restart in completely new configurations. The entropy engine's influence spread, turning the entire vessel into a living experiment in controlled chaos. "The entity's attacks are becoming erratic," Alox observed. "Its perfect efficiency is degrading. I've never seen anything like it." Maya's eyes widened as she processed the data flowing through her neural interface. "It's not just attacking anymore," she realized. "It's trying to understand. Every failed attempt to consume us forces it to evolve, to adapt. But unlike its previous victims, we're evolving faster." The quantum energy surrounding the ship pulsed with increasing intensity. The entity's attacks came faster, more desperate, like a predator facing prey that defied the laws of nature itself. "Hull stress at maximum," Rodriguez reported. "We can't take much more of this." But Elena saw something in the entity's attack patterns that others had missed. "It's not trying to destroy us," she said slowly. "It's trying to communicate. Maya, can you?" Her words were cut off as the entity launched its most powerful attack yet. The ship's systems flickered, quantum processors screaming as they struggled to maintain their chaotic patterns. "Emergency shutdown imminent," the computer warned. "Quantum core stability failing." "No," Maya said suddenly, her expression shifting from concern to wonder. "Not failing. Transforming. Everyone, braced for impact." The quantum entity's energy surged through the ship's systems, but instead of consuming them, it merged with the entropy engine's chaotic patterns. For a moment, order and chaos danced together in perfect discord. And in that moment, humanity's greatest gamble paid off in a way no one could have predicted. Because sometimes, the only way to defeat a perfect enemy is to teach it the value of imperfection. In the aftermath of the Prometheus's encounter, the galaxy held its breath. The quantum entity, once an unstoppable force of consumption, had transformed into something entirely new. The Great Hall of the reformed Galactic Concordat, no longer a place of perfect crystalline geometry, but a dynamic space of shifting patterns, buzzed with activity as representatives from surviving civilizations gathered to understand what had happened. Dr. Maya Patel stood before them, her neural interface now displaying patterns that merged ordered quantum mechanics with controlled chaos. What we encountered wasn't just a predator, she explained. It was the galaxy's immune system, evolved to eliminate stagnation. Ambassador Chen, standing beside her, gestured to the holographic displays showing the entity's new form. For millennia, advanced civilizations pursued perfect stability. But in doing so, they stopped evolving. The entity emerged as a natural response, a force designed to consume consciousness that had become too predictable. The surviving members of the ethereal conclave, now existing in hybrid bioquantum forms, pulsed with understanding. We thought advancement meant eliminating chaos, their spokesperson admitted. We never considered that chaos itself might be essential for true evolution. Commander Rodriguez stepped forward, his military bearing softened by newfound wisdom. The entity wasn't trying to destroy advanced consciousness, he said. It was trying to force it to adapt. When it encountered our entropy engine, it found what it had been searching for: life that embraced evolution as a constant state of being. Alax's crystalline form shimmered with complex emotions. But what does this mean for the future of galactic civilization? We cannot simply return to our old ways. Nor should we, Maya responded. She interfaced with the chamber systems, showing how the entity had merged with the entropy engine's technology. What we've created is something entirely new. A synthesis of order and chaos, stability and change, perfection and evolution. The displays shifted, showing new patterns of consciousness emerging across the galaxy. Where the entity had once consumed, it now transformed. Advanced civilizations that had retreated into pure quantum states were learning to reintegrate chaos into their existence. Species that had achieved perfect stability were rediscovering the joy of uncertainty. Humanity never achieved the level of advancement that other species did, Sarah said, because we never stopped struggling with our own chaos. Our technology remained crude by galactic standards because it had to accommodate our unpredictable nature. What we saw as our greatest weakness turned out to be our greatest strength. The chamber filled with murmurs of agreement, not the perfect harmonic consensus of old, but a beautiful discord of individual thoughts and perspectives. The surviving civilizations were learning to embrace imperfection, to find strength in adaptation rather than stability. A young Vex representative, their geometric form now incorporating organic elements, raised a point that many were thinking. But what prevents us from falling back into stagnation? How do we maintain this balance between order and chaos? Maya smiled, activating her neural interface one final time. The chamber filled with patterns that danced between perfect geometry and controlled entropy. By remembering what we learned today, true advancement isn't about eliminating uncertainty. It's about learning to thrive within it. The entity remains a part of our galaxy, no longer as a predator, but as a reminder. The patterns shifted, showing how the merged consciousness of the entity and the entropy engine had spread throughout galactic civilization. It wasn't controlling or consuming. It was inspiring, introducing elements of controlled chaos wherever consciousness threatened to become too predictable. We stand at the beginning of a new era, Sarah declared, one where advancement is measured not by the elimination of chaos, but by our ability to evolve with it. The galaxy's oldest civilizations are learning what humanity never forgot: that imperfection is not a weakness to be overcome, but a strength to be embraced. The chamber erupted in a cascade of responses: crystalline chimes, quantum pulses, bioelectric signals, and simple human voices all joining in a symphony of controlled chaos. The galactic community was transforming, becoming something that neither the most advanced civilization nor the most primitive could have predicted. As the celebration continued, Maya found herself standing next to Alax, watching the diverse expressions of joy and uncertainty. "Do you ever miss it?" she asked. "The perfection your species once had." Alax's form sparkled with what might have been laughter. Perfection, they said, was just another word for extinction. What we have now, this beautiful, chaotic, ever-evolving existence, this is true immortality. Outside the chamber, the galaxy continued its dance of order and chaos, watched over by an entity that had evolved from predator to guardian. Humanity, once dismissed as too primitive to join galactic civilization, had become its saviors not through advancement, but through their stubborn refusal to abandon their imperfections. And in the great pattern of existence that made all the difference,